Bo Nickal calls the fans drunk idiots for not liking his performance against Paul Craig and having something to say about it. Well, those drunk idiots are what's going to push you in the sport, whether you could captivate them or not. And actually, I like the way Bo Nickal handled the booze. I like the way he responded. I don't agree with him. I think his points are wrong, and I think the people have a point because he was a minus 1200 favorite and he was a guy who was expected to dominate, and it was in front of the president elect Donald Trump. And, not for nothing, but we see these other fighters go in there and dominate, and we want to see our fighters dominate too. American fighters always talk about how the American people don't get behind them, but you know what, not for nothing, you had a great chance to get them behind you that night against Paul Craig. You could have went in there and smoked Paul Craig and brought his head to Donald Trump like this on a platter. Okay, it is what it is. You fumbled that opportunity. You went in there and you showed off your striking, which was cool, right? To see a wrinkle in Bo Nickal's game, but Bo Nickal isn't a striker, and Bo Nickal, he mentioned on the Ariel Helwani show that he wants to improve his shot selection and his aggressiveness and his ability to pick shots, and he wants to straighten out his left hand because those looping overhands can land. He wants to finally throw the straight. But I'm thinking to myself the whole time he's going over all these wanted improvements. I'm thinking to myself, dude, aren't you a wrestler? Aren't you supposed to be one of the best wrestlers to ever step foot inside the UFC octagon? Why are you not playing to that strength? Why? It doesn't make any sense to me. And no, Paul Craig's jiu-jitsu doesn't make sense to me when you want to use that as a deterrent, use that as a reason to be hesitant in there. Paul Craig, as good as he is off of his back, you have to think, as Bo Nickal, that's great. I'm better on top, and I'm better than Ankalaev. I'm better than Jamal Hill. You know what I mean? Okay, he submitted Jamal Hill. Okay. That don't mean he's gonna submit you. You went toe to toe with Gordon Ryan. You get me? So the idea that you would rather go toe to toe with Gordon Ryan in straight up jiu-jitsu, no gi jiu-jitsu. You would rather do that than take down Paul Craig in an MMA match or an MMA fight. It doesn't make any sense. So no, I don't think it was dumb idiots. I think it was people who were saying, "This is the guy, this guy," and not for nothing, but you're the reason why they feel that way. You're the one that begged Dana White to give you an opportunity for the Contender Series, to which Dana White, once upon a time, said, "Nah, he's not ready for that." He let you on. You kept talking, saying, "I am ready for it. I could beat Israel Adesanya." You were throwing his name out there. You were saying that you have better wrestling than Islam Makhachev. You have better wrestling than Hamza Shemaev. You're saying things like this. Hamza Shemaev just had a fantastic performance over Robert Whitaker, okay? And to Bo Nickal's point, he said, if I would have went in there and finished Paul Craig in 30 seconds, people would have said that Paul Craig sucks. And I disagree with that. I think the crowd would have been on their feet. I think they would have been screaming and cheering. I think Donald Trump would have gave you a standing ovation. I think things would have went incredibly well for you. And I think fans would have wanted to see you fight Robert Whitaker next, or someone of that ilk, right? Someone who's been in the lexicon, whether it's a Marvin Vittori, someone that has fought for a title. You get me? That class of middleweight. That's what I think. I like Bo, but I think he tries to be a little bit too smart for the room sometimes, and he wanted to prove that he could strike. But we don't need to know that you can strike. You get me? I just feel like the fans don't. We want to see you win, and we want to see you win dominantly. You're an American fighter. American fighters always talk about how they're going to get the American fan base to follow them, and they talk about how, oh, American fans don't cheer for the American fighters. Well, you know what? You got to give them something to cheer for, dude. You got to give them something to cheer for. Hamza Shemaev, when he's fighting in Saudi Arabia, he gives them people something to cheer for. He wraps around your neck. He doesn't care if it's up here. He doesn't care if it's here. He will break your face, bro. It's the watermelon challenge, up against your chest, and I'm breaking watermelons. That's what he's doing with your head, bro. And we I didn't see none of that in Bo Nickel. In fact, I saw the opposite. I saw the guy freeze. in what I believe was the second round against Paul Craig. He hurt Paul Craig. It might have been the third round. It might have been the third round. He hurts Paul Craig finally because he threw so many overhands, overhand rights, overhand lefts. He was switching both stances. Like, it was fine, but just, I don't know. I'd rather you wrestle. Anyways, he cracks Paul Craig. Paul Craig grabs his eye. That's how badly he was affected by it. I thought maybe he broke his orbital. I don't know. Like, finally, after like the 50th one, cracks him. Paul Craig goes back to the fence, and he stands his ground up on the fence as if it's his last stand, right? Bo Nickal, instead of pouring it on, swarming, shooting for a takedown, doing something, he literally froze and he let Paul Craig off the hook, which prompted me to ask the question, does Bo Nickal have killer instinct? Hamza Chimaev would have finished Paul Craig. You get me? Does Bo Nickal have that aggressive nature for him to go out there, hunt his opponent, and get the finish at the higher levels, right? Not the guys he's already beaten, at the higher levels. I mean, we just saw him against Paul Craig stand up with him the whole time and not test the jiu-jitsu. Why? I want to see Bo Nickal be as great as he can be, as great as he says he is, as great as people say he is. And trust me, this fight right here was not as great as he could have been. So that's where this comes from. This isn't me hating on Bo Nickal or nothing like that. This is just me who I thought he was about to turn up. You know what I mean? And another thing that I want to say, Bo Nickal is more of a Ben Askren than he is a Dan Henderson. So it's like, that's okay, bro, but just fight to that strength. Be the grappler. Go in there and just wear these guys down, and, you know, that's it. Don't go in there throwing overhands, you know? Especially, like, you don't even have power to be throwing overhands like that. You get what I mean? It's just, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, whether you agree with me, disagree with me. It truly does not matter. I just want you to join the discussion. Follow for more. Leave a like if you enjoyed the time spent. And thank you. You are all appreciated.